What's up, y'all? How you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Now, my last couple videos and shorts have focused pretty heavily on body armor. How much ammo do you need to carry on your body armor? How to avoid a bad case of TMS? Things of that sort. Well, one big question that always crops up, whether in my DMs, my comments from past videos, or in my classes, do you even need body armor? I mean, seriously, we're civilians. It's not like we're going to go out and try to storm Fallujah or try to kick in doors and try to name that terrorist group. But, as civilians, our protection is our own responsibility. It has been proven more and more times than I can count. Even, I believe there's actually a Supreme Court decision sometime in the past. Somebody in the comments can look this up for me. For some reason it escapes me. But anyway, there's actually a Supreme Court ruling that says police do not have the obligation to protect you in the event that your life is in danger. Prime example of this that I always like to bring up is Uvalde. We all saw the news. We all watched with bated breath as 40 plus SWAT officers, regular police officers, sheriff, municipal police, yada yada yada, they sat outside of that school while kids were being killed for 2.5 hours and did diddly squat. Why? Because they were afraid. They had a 40-1 majority. I believe the standard military requirement for launching an attack is 3-1 superiority. These guys had 40-1 superiority. They still didn't do it. Why? Because they do not have the obligation to protect you in the event that your life is actually in danger. Their job is to solve crimes, not stop crimes, and in many major cities today, they don't even do that. So, do we as civilians really need body armor? Well, the big question with that is, do you need body armor? Now, better question is, not do you need it, but do you want it? Would it be nice to have? Say you live in an area where, I don't know, a couple years ago, a bunch of people decided to dress up with Molotovs and black masks and decided to go out and burn stuff for name that reason. Maybe they came by your house. Maybe they threatened your house. Maybe they threatened your neighborhood. Maybe there were hordes of rampaging lunatics out there, burning, looting, and bashing, sometimes killing everything in sight, and you didn't have a way to stand up for yourself, the police were told to stand down, and the National Guard were told not to intervene. Well, in that kind of situation, me personally, I would love to have the ability not only to fight back, but also to have something in between me and the enemy's bullets in the event I had to defend my home, my family, my neighborhood, my community, what have you. So, do you really need it? Well, short answer is no. You don't absolutely need body armor. Of course, this is a more overt setup. This is something you would only put on if you actually had to lock and load, go out and do work for real. Say you're fighting Russians, they're falling from the sky, you're fighting zombies, they're rising from the grave, something of that sort. Or it is just a full-on Red Dawn, civil unrest, civil war, dogs and cats living together, the world has gone to hell in a handbasket and you are along for the ride kind of situation. But, that being said, is it nice to have? Oh, abso-friggin-lutely. Because if and when something like that ever does happen, if and when, on the very slight chance, that 1 in 10 million chance, that you may actually have to put this stuff on, step outside your home, step outside your work, and step outside into your home streets, into your home community, and defend yourself and your brethren, this is a great thing to have. Even if you just go out and buy it, trick it out to your heart's content, stick it in the closet, and occasionally train with it, because you do need to train with this stuff. Don't think that you can just buy this, put all the doodads on it, stick it in the closet, and forget about it. Because if you actually think you're ever going to have to put this on, or even if you don't, if you even have this, I highly, highly encourage you to go out and train with it. In fact, I just got done doing some training myself with it. So, after all of that, long story short, do you really need body armor? No, but it's great to have. It's another tool in the toolbox. It is a force multiplier in your favor. But also, with that being said, quite a few states are trying to ban the sale and private ownership of this. The big players that I can name are New York, New Jersey, California, Washington State, quite a few others. Quite a few states already have those laws on the books. A lot of states are trying to put those laws on the books. And if you live in one of these states, you have to start fighting for your rights. Because even if you don't agree with people being able to have this, even if you don't actually have this and you don't actually train in this stuff, the idea is that when the government says you can't have something, it's something that they only want themselves to have. Think about this. Why would the government want to take away your ability to have a active item that can protect you against bullets, that can protect you against an active shooter, that can protect you against an armed assailant, in a world where they keep harping on and on about how gun deaths are the leading cause of death for children? That's a lie, by the way. I'm going to do another video on this later. Or they're constantly talking about mass shooters, or constantly talking about this, that, and the other thing for why we need to get rid of the Second Amendment, why the people shouldn't be able to have guns like this, or even guns like this. My trusty 1911 here, which by the way is 50 state legal, one of the reasons I love it. Why civilians should not be allowed to have any sort of weapons at all. Well, the simple reason is this. If they're trying to take away your weapons, if they're trying to take away your means to actively defend yourself and actively and offensively defend yourself and your community, to fight back against either them or something else that is threatening you, your community, your family, your home, it's probably because they're up to no good and they're about to do something that would make you want to use that stuff against them. But I digress. I'll get off my soapbox there. Back to the original topic. Do you really need body armor as a civilian? I think I covered that already. No, you don't really need it, but it's nice to have. Now, on the other hand, depending on where you live, let's say you live in a more urban, densely populated area. As you can tell, I do not. I proudly live out here in the backwoods of the Ozarks. Just moved into this great property. I just got done using my private range, which I'll have a video up of that later. So I don't really technically need this. A chest rig would be more than adequate for me, rather. Now, in a city, body armor is a must. Ask any veteran that has fought in any foreign war for the last 20 years. Body armor is a necessity if you're in a city. Because out here in the country, you might get shot. If you're in a city, going close quarters, street to street, room to room, you will get shot. It is just a simple fact of life. In fact, I have gone to more than a few tactical classes, and I have taught more than a few myself, where somebody who's actually been there, done it, and seen it has told me that when the first guy goes through that door, you better hope he's wearing armor, because one of that guy's main jobs is to take the first round in the plate so the guy behind him can take out the shooter. Sad reality, but that's the way it is. So in that context, body armor wouldn't be such a bad idea if you're an actual prepared citizen and you are training to defend yourself and yours. Overall, you don't really need it, but again, it's nice to have. It is kind of expensive. It is kind of labor intensive. This is actually a T-Rex Arms AC1. This is one of the cheaper plate carriers you can find on the market that is actually still doable. I've had this for a few months. I actually got this for Christmas, and it's about $165. For the value, you can't beat it. It's an awesome carrier. It's an awesome platform on which to build. You can add little doodads and aftermarket trinkets to it, to your heart's content. Now, if you're going to buy your first plate carrier, usually you're going to spend at least $200. Look for like the $150, $200 range. That's about the least amount I would spend to have a decent plate carrier. But as I've always said, guys, if you're going to get into body armor and this kind of self-defense, the more tactical aspect of it, spend the money on the actual armor that is inside the carrier. You can have a cheapo $100 carrier with $1,000 plates in there, and that thing will save your life every single time, because the carrier is not what's actually saving you. The armor inside is what's doing that work. Everything attached to the carrier, that's your personal preference. That's up to your personal needs. The one thing that every person that has body armor that actually is going to use their body armor or thinks they will use their body armor is the body armor. People get too caught up on their fancy plate carriers. They all want the $1,000 first spear or the $600 Cry Precision, but really what's in it, it's kind of cliche, but in this case, it literally is what's inside that counts. Again, you can get away with a cheap carrier, you can get away with cheap pouches, you can get away with cheap attachments. But if there is one area in this particular field where you're really going to spend the money, I highly encourage you to splurge on the actual armor plates and get everything else as cheap as you can. So, I hope I've answered these questions for you today. Stay armed, stay prepared, stay frosty, my friends.